mean, that is like the sales that I got from doing the right thing. I remember, going to an elderly couple, and I knew they were better off staying with the package they were on.
Mm-hmm.
And so I actually, after a cup of tea and apple tart, I actually said, you know what, guys, I think you're better off staying where you are. And I knew I was going to lose the sale, and I really needed the sale. And they were like, oh, okay, really. And that's really nice of you. So I left my card. By the end of the driveway, it was a farmhouse.
Yeah.
I got a call from them saying their niece wanted to change. So I still got the sale.
Are you looking to improve your sales skills without compromising your values? Welcome to Sales Made Easy, a podcast for business and personal growth. Join Harry Spate, author of Selling with Dignity, your formula for life-changing sales results, as he hosts sales experts and business owners who share their journeys of personal growth and business success without resorting to pushy sales tactics. Now, here's your host, Harry.
We are recording, ladies and gentlemen, and with us today, we have the tweeting goddess of all people coming live from the country of Ireland. Yay. So Samantha Kelly is joining us, and we are going to talk a little bit today about LinkedIn and Twitter and just exactly what a tweeting goddess does. So Samantha Kelly, welcome to the Sales Made Easy podcast. What is the good word?
Oh, thank you so much, Harry. And thank you for having me. And hi, everybody. I am Samantha Kelly. I'm based in Ireland, as you said. And Tweeting Goddess was really a name that I came up with 10 years ago because my first business was Funky Goddess. So my first business was how I entered into the whole world of social media and Twitter in particular. So I'll just go back and I was a lone parent on social welfare. My father had just passed away. My marriage had just broken up, and I had two young girls. And what happened was, I was at that stage, when you lose someone, you kind of start thinking of life differently. And I started thinking, life's too short, and what have I done with my life? That kind of, you start thinking about your own life and what you've done. So that's what I started doing. And then my daughter, I don't know if people listening might have daughters, but she came to that awkward milestone. She was only 11 of her first period. So I was like, oh, the poor thing. So I went running to the shop to get her some kind of set or welcome to womanhood type thing, gift. And I was in the supermarket aisle and there were no beginner sets. There was no gift, nothing. And I was like, why? Why is there no? And I said, I can't be the only mom that is thinking like I am. So I just there and then decided, I went, hang on, I have no money. I can't start a business. But then I just went, so it's probably my dad really, because he was a bit of an entrepreneur himself. Probably my dad up above giving me the idea. So I just said, right, I'll do it. So I created this gift box, called it Funky Goddess, because I wanted the whole woman thing, powerful goddess type image, and then also the funky for the young girls. And so that's how I came up with the name. And then I trademarked it and all of that. And I just put together, now I had no money, as I said. So there's a show over here called Dragon's Den. It's like Shark Tank. So I applied for that show and I ended up on that show. So that's really where my journey began. But before I went on that show, I did get a little loan off my mom, and I just got the basics I need to put the product together. So it was so successful, but mostly because it was such a taboo over here. It was like, did she say the word period? So it was like really taboo. So my sister put me on Twitter and I was like, what do I do with this? I barely had a Facebook account. And she was like, oh, you can promote your business. And so what I started doing was I started, finding people like me that were in business, started following people when the kids were in bed. That's actually the busiest time on Twitter and on most social media platforms because the kids were in bed. I was lonely. And I was in my pajamas and I just started building I didn't know I was building relationships. I thought I was just talking to people. So people wanted to talk to me as well because of what I was doing. So that's really where it started, my whole journey into Twitter.
So thank you to the 11-year-old daughter to getting you started as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
That's
mad,
great.
isn't it? It is. It's great. And she's 23 now and she has a little baby. So I'm a grandmother now. So,
oh my goodness,
it's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the world turns. It's just, it's a great story and you can always thank her. And so you went from, were you working at the time when you started your entrepreneurial journey or?
No, because I
Yeah.
had my other daughter is hard of hearing, so she would have had a lot of appointments with speech therapy and stuff. So I was on social welfare. I was relying on social
Wow.
welfare at the time, but I knew, like, I remember when she was, see, that's another milestone that was
Yep.
coming up. So my father passed away, marriage had broken up, but then my daughter was about, she was only 4, she was about to start school. So I was thinking, well, what am I going to do now when she's in school? So I was already thinking, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And I knew I was really good at customer service, really good with sales, really good with people. And I think that is a key thing. So if anyone's listening today that is not good with people, you might not do so well on Twitter and LinkedIn. Okay. So it is really important. You know, if you're an idiot offline, you're going to be an idiot online. Like, so, you know, it's really important to you do have to have a certain personality. Like I've seen many companies, you know, and they say, should a web designer can do the social media? No, web designers and people behind the scenes in tech, they usually like to be on their own. They usually don't like to be doing the marketing. So it's a totally different skill set. So these are all things I've learned, by the way.
Yeah.
I didn't know any of this. You learn
Well,
as you go.
yeah. It's like when you jump in, right? You start to learn, and if you stick with it. So yeah, and your story is so inspiring. I mean, we could go on and just talk about the story about coming off of the social welfare and starting a business and then becoming an entrepreneur and doing well and then starting another business. So yeah, it's good stuff.
It's funny because I didn't know I had that kind of a mindset. I didn't even know what I was good. I knew I was good at sales and customer service, but I didn't know I had a natural ability for Twitter because it's short form text. And even someone mentioned to me recently that when I write articles, I write them like tweets. I was like, what do I? But it was funny because, you know, you mentioned, you know, like starting a business and stuff, and it is scary, but you know, I just jumped in, and that's exactly what you have to do is kind of, you know what, just do it and try it.
Oh.
You know, what's the worst that can happen? And I've had several businesses and I've actually sold them. So I sold 3 startups since.
Nice.
So I sold the first business. And, you know, I'm really good at building up communities and building up and then passing them on. So I didn't even know I had that superpower. So
yeah, that's just so awesome. So let's talk a little bit about this Twitter thing. So I'm pretty familiar with LinkedIn, and I know a lot of the audience that listens to this podcast, I believe, comes from LinkedIn. Would love to get some more people from Twitter. I went into Twitter hearing a lot of negativity, that it was a cesspool, a lot of arguments and name calling. And I went, you know what? There's good people everywhere. I'm going to find the good people. And that's when I started to get into Twitter and started looking for good people. And I see you nodding your head approvingly. So talk to me about that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, first of all, just to show you, people, like, Twitter is the most underestimated platform and misunderstood platform out there. And I'm just lucky, I guess, that I didn't even chose, Twitter chose me as my niche, you know, because there's so many social media experts out there. There's so many marketing experts, but can you name many Twitter experts? Like, it's really difficult to name a few Twitter experts. So what I did was, when I sold Funky Goddess, what had happened was a hotel locally had approached me and said, oh, will you come in and teach us this Twitter thing? Because we don't get it, but we know our audience are there. Because the demographic would be age 35 to 55, and the highest growing demographic are the over 55. So, like, I'm 52. So, you know, I was right in the right area. But, you know, for the hotel, like, you know, a lot of people retired would go on little hotel breaks and stuff. So they wanted to reach those people. So they came, I went in, they went, and I showed them everything. They went, you know what, would you not just do it for us and run our account? And I was like, oh, and that's when Tweeting Goddess was born. I said, oh, this is a new business. I could actually turn this into a business. So they were willing to pay me. I didn't even know how much to charge them. They were willing to pay me to run the account. So I did, and their clicks to sale went up 15%. So the head office of the hotel group called them and said, how did your clicks to sale go up so much? And they said, well, we have Samantha on the account. That's why. But the point I'm making there is even the hotel, the marketing department didn't understand Twitter. So it's a really common misconception. Like if you see the media and they say, oh, and this tweet was put out by people and they'll have it on the background, it's always a negative tweet. It's never a positive tweet. Like, have you ever seen them put up a tweet that's a really nice, fluffy, positive, inspiring tweet?
No, I haven't.
Now, in saying that, during the pandemic, I remember I had all of these followers, and I remember thinking, how can I do something? Because we all felt so helpless during the pandemic. I felt, how can I use this for good, this Twitter for good? So I just did a tweet and I said, look, if you're self-isolating, you know, let me help you and connect you with other people who are self-isolating. Let's connect with each other. And it went viral. And I ended up on the news that night. I ended up on Euronews, BBC. I was like, what? Because it captured the imagination and the mood of the people at the time. They all wanted to do something. So it created a whole movement of a hashtag called self-isolation help. And people would say, like, there was one woman, she had a son who was disabled and he needed adult nappies. And she was like, I'm afraid to go out of the house to get the nap. And so a guy on Twitter said, I'll come, I'll get them for you. And he brought her up loads of other stuff, not just the nappies, you know, so it really created a movement. And another journalist ran with it. It got bigger and bigger. So the thing about Twitter is there are really good people on Twitter, because remember the reason I went on Twitter? Okay, it was to promote my business, but I was also lonely. So I started finding people like me who wanted to communicate with others, but maybe couldn't leave the house. Maybe, you know, we're caring for someone. And we all know people that care for other people, maybe a relative, a child, or, you know, so, and I remember I was caring for my daughter at the time too. So not that she needed much caring, you know, really compared to others, but, you know, so people on Twitter would be professional, urban. There are communities of business owners in particular, authors, artists, healthcare, education. Like there's so many communities, art, like musicians, there's communities for everything. If you put kite surfing into search on Twitter, you'll find loads of kite surfers, you know? So it's just powerful. And I just saw the magic of storytelling as well. And you being in sales, you can understand the magic of storytelling. And us Irish, we're good storytellers, you know, and my dad was for sure. And I remember when I had that first business, I said, I wonder if I got stories from people who came to that awkward milestone, what it was like for them or whatever. And then I had a friend, and he was a widower, and he had 3 girls. Like when his wife passed away, he had 3 young girls. So he had to do all the shopping and, you know, going in to ask for the products. And, you know, he had to do all that. He had no choice.
Right. Yeah.
And he was a poet. He is a poet and a good friend of mine. So I asked him, would he write about, you know, what it was like for him as a father, a widower with 3 young girls coming to that awkward milestone. And because he was a poet, he wrote it beautifully. And so I put it on my website as a blog. And that's the day that it really hit me, because straight away journalists started contacting me and saying, oh, you know, can we interview this guy? You know, this is brilliant. You know, this is really good. Because they knew they'd get the engagement, I suppose, as well, because it's a bit of a taboo topic. And he ended up on the big radio show in the morning here nationally, and they got a guest. I got loads of attention, and he got attention. He ended up in the show. So lots of people did well out of that, not just me. Right. You know, I saw the power of that, you know. Yeah,
amazing. So on Twitter, all right, so I know we're not going to have enough time to go through all of this, but I'm loving it already. The first thing that comes to mind is, you mentioned that there are these groups, whatever the group is. So do you suggest that if people want to pick up, you know, build a community on Twitter, is it find the group and then follow people? Is that really what you need to be doing? And then do you eventually try to have conversations with people, or is that taboo as well? Or is that taboo?
No. Oh God, okay. On Twitter, nothing is, engagement is key. It's all about, even if I get a new client and they say, oh, well, what are you going to post? I said, you know what, for the first few weeks, I'm not even going to post. I'm just going to engage, and I'm going to find people who I know that you need to be talking to. And I'm really good at connecting the dots. Like, so, you know, I know for you, Harry, like if you were talking to me about sales, my community would love that. That would be valued because there's a lot of small business owners in my followers. So, you know, it's all about finding the people first. Yes. So you maybe just put the hashtag, let's say kite surfing, put hashtag kite surfing into search. And then I just picked the weirdest thing, don't I? But, you know, and then start following some of the people who are actually using that hashtag, and then just say, gosh, you know, I'm actually into kite surfing too, and I'm new to Twitter. Could you help me find other cool people to follow? And they will help you, because people in Twitter, they want more people on Twitter. They want to help you. And they're so welcoming, you know, and I just find that something I like to do is surprise and delight my audience by, you know, I might see a lady with like knitted booties and a hat for a baby or something on an Etsy, and she's on Etsy, and she might put up a little tweet and she's got like 49 followers, and then I'll retweet her, you know, and I love doing that, you know, just to give people a buzz and a bit of excitement. But it's about the engagements. It's about me. It's not about me at all. It's actually about my audience, looking after them and seeing if I can help them. So Twitter lists, something I want to talk about. Twitter lists are really important. So do you use Twitter lists, Harry?
No, and I'm not even sure I understand what this is. Twitter lists, like LISTS.
I can share my screen if you want and show you.
Sure, you can share your screen.
Oh,
I've got to give you permission.
Yeah.
This is a first, ladies and gentlemen. We're sharing screens on a podcast. Now I'm sharing my own. No, that's the wrong thing.
Oh, will they be able to see though? They won't be able to see it.
Well, they can see it on YouTube.
Okay, so you have to go to YouTube, folks.
So we're going to put it on YouTube. So you have permission.
Yeah, I'll just do that now. So if I go into Twitter, don't look at my tabs.
I'm not going to look at the 73 tabs.
No, don't. So what I do, if you go over here on the left-hand side, see here, you see it says lists?
Lists, yes. So, so you went to Twitter and you went under, just for those, so you went to, where did we go first?
So you go to home. If you go to home, and on the left-hand side, you have home, explore. It's a drop down, home, explore, notifications, messages, and then you have lists.
Okay, beautiful.
So if you click on the lists, and then at the top, you can create a list. I have a lot of lists, so you can actually create, at the top, there's a little square with lines on it. If you just click new list, and we can create a list called podcasts, sales podcasts, let's say. Okay. Right? So we'll put you on that list, right?
I'm liking this.
Yeah. And you can create a list. Now you can make it private, but we don't want to make it private because I want to get the person's attention who I'm adding to my podcast list. So I click next and I click done. Okay. Yeah. And then I go back to you, let's say Harry. So we go to Harry. And what you do is you go to Harry or the person you want to add to your list, and you click the 3 dots and you add Harry onto one of your lists, and we want to put him in our sales podcasts. Okay. I can also add, if I really want to get Harry's attention, I could add him into a nicer list called, I've loads of lists. So
I see. She does have like artists, inspiring. Oh, I like inspiring.
So you're in inspiring. I just added you to inspiring, but you know, so it's a great way to keep track of people. So let's say you find, so you're on my inspiring list. So you'll get a notification, Harry, saying Samantha Tweeting Goddess just added you to her podcast list and her inspiring list. So that straight away is getting your attention. You're going to go, who's Samantha Kelly? And you're going to look and have a nosy at my profile. And then you might decide whether you want to follow me or not. So it's a good way to get people's attention that you maybe haven't been able to get their attention, or you'd like them to follow you, or, you know, but you can also have private lists. So let's say you have some people that you'd like as potential guests in the future. So what you could do is you could create a private list called, you know, guests 23 or something, and then you could just start adding them to your list so that you're not getting their hopes up straight away. You're just watching them, and you can just keep watching them to see, okay, do I really want this person on as a guest? Let me just keep an eye on them first. So you can go and maybe check their tweets in the morning, see what they're talking about. I normally make a decision in a split second whether I'm going to follow someone or not. So it's like LinkedIn in some ways, that you look at their profile. And I'm always amazed at how many people on LinkedIn don't have a professional headshot. It just baffles me. And I know for people that might not have much money starting out, it is difficult.
It's really not that expensive though. It's a couple $100.
Yeah, but even for people that like me now, Harry, I didn't have
Right.
in the
Yes. I don't want to
box,
be
right?
judged.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
For people who are on. Yes.
Yeah. So
Right.
I try and think of those people as well.
Yeah.
So,
Agreed.
but, you know, there are students out there learning photography. You
Mhm.
could have, and now with phones, I mean, we're spoiled. The quality of the phone
Yeah.
pictures, there's all kinds of apps out there. You know, like there has to be someone maybe in your daughter or your son that like they might be better at taking the picture. So, you
Yeah.
know, just don't put up like, just think about the picture. It's really
What do
important.
you think
okay?
about the avatars? A lot of people are using avatars, like that little phony picture of
don't-
themselves.
No, I don't like them. I don't like them
Yeah,
because
and-
I want to talk to a person.
Right. Yeah.
So
I agree.
really your picture is very important. Make it
Mm.
like, so if you did add someone to a list, you want people to look at your profile. Like the minute you followed me, I went and looked at your profile. I went through your past 3 tweets and then I found that video. And what did I do then? I retweeted it because I liked what you said in the video. So
Nice.
always make sure you have a pinned tweet and a few good tweets so that if someone goes, they're not going to see you complaining about politics or
Right.
whatever,
Yeah.
religion, or, you know, I'm not going to follow you. If you're
Mhm.
giving out about other people, you're going to give out about me at some stage.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so you know, if you see them bitching about others, just stay away, you know, and,
Yeah.
and that's, it's like real life, you know, you don't want to hang out with someone like that. So,
Yeah.
you know, it kind of, so for Twitter, it's so important. Twitter lists are a really good way to segment your audience and for you to keep an eye on different, you could have sales coaches, you could have a list of sales, you know, sales podcasts. You could create a list of, I don't know who your
small
target
business owners, right? I mean,
Yeah.
sales directors or VPs of sales or whatever, sales leadership
Now-
and so forth, right?
Now, do you know
Yeah.
what actually? Do you know what there is not on Twitter, Harry? You have a huge opportunity here. There are maybe
Awesome.
about 3 sales experts that kind of dominate Twitter.
Okay.
3 that
That's
I
not
know
very
of.
many. I think there's millions of people on Twitter too. Last time I checked, there's a few million.
But you can stand out and become that person. But you, as you say, you need to start following the people that want to hear from you. So you start following some of the people that are talking to me, maybe that are small business owners. Start there. Start following thought leaders. Start putting out content that's of value that we're going to learn, like you do.
So how many, when people start tweeting, like on LinkedIn, you don't, from what I understand with LinkedIn, you don't really want to post more than once a day on LinkedIn because the second post cancels out the first one. I've heard that. I've seen that. I'm not sure if it still works because I get very little traction on LinkedIn these days, but that's a whole nother story. It seems like algorithms change periodically. And
have you, okay, I'll have a look at your LinkedIn later, but like, have you tried the LinkedIn newsletter?
You know, I have not. I mean, I'm a little concerned about spamminess on that. So talk to me about the
Well,
LinkedIn
then don't
newsletter.
spam. Don't
Okay.
spam. It's easy.
All right.
I'm worried about spamming. Then don't spam. No,
right.
what you do is when you create a LinkedIn news, I know we've moved to LinkedIn now, but
That's okay. We're moving to
So-
LinkedIn. Hello, it's Harry. Thank you so much for listening. If you're enjoying this show, would you please take a moment to leave a review and maybe even share it with your friends? That way more people can find us, and we certainly appreciate that. Now, back to the show.
announcement, we're moving to LinkedIn. See, I could
Yes.
stay here all day. Tom.
Me too. This may go longer than anticipated, but there'll be plenty of valuable clips we can use.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So LinkedIn newsletters, the lovely thing about LinkedIn newsletters is when you create a LinkedIn newsletter, so how you do that is make sure creator mode is on. So you go to your profile and you scroll down and turn on creator mode. If you're going to be creating stuff, if you're going to be posting regularly, right? And then you go as if you're going to do a post. So you go to LinkedIn and click as if there's an option to write an article. Click write article, and then it will bring you to as if you're going to write an article, but then it will say at the top, create a newsletter. And when you create a newsletter, you have to name it, give it a good name that's going to get people's attention, because I'm sure people have had notifications where Mary has asked you to subscribe to her LinkedIn.
Yes.
You know, and we're going to decide in a split second. Like I can get, if you create a newsletter called sales, I'm like.
But what about the title of my book? Would that be a good Selling with Dignity newsletter or something? Or the Selling with Dignity newsletter?
Yes,
Okay,
that's
good.
much more interesting than my weekly sales newsletter.
Yeah. Okay, good.
So
Yeah.
yes, that is a wonderful, and I love that. Dignity is so important, folks, and so important. I was talking earlier, myself and Harry were talking earlier. I mean, that is like the sales that I got from doing the right thing. I remember, going to an elderly couple, and I knew they were better off staying with the package they were on. And
Mhm.
so I actually, after a cup of tea and apple tart, I actually said, you know what, guys, I think you're better off staying where you are. And I knew I was going to lose the sale, and I really needed the sale. And they were like, oh, okay, really. And that's really nice here. So I left my card. By the end of the driveway, it was a farmhouse.
Yeah.
I got a call from them saying their niece wanted to change. So I still
Oh,
got the sale.
yeah.
Still got
By
the
doing
sale.
the right thing. You're
Doing the
amazing. I
right
love it.
Doing the
Yes.
right thing. And even that farmer I used to go to and get this is the farmer I used to go to, it was his birthday, and I went to the shop and I bought him the farmer's journal and a little chocolate egg. So Easter was coming, and he
Oh.
started crying nearly when I gave it to him.
Oh
But
my goodness.
but
Yes.
he had helped me,
Yeah.
right? Because he was giving me, it's very lonely on the road as a sales rep, very lonely place. And I understand loneliness so much. And Twitter, and just don't underestimate the power of Twitter and you doing something nice for someone. And, that dignity thing is really important to me, really important. So I love that you're doing that.
All
And
right. So I totally interrupted you here. So we're going to talk about this newsletter. And now I want to talk about farming and being lonely, but
yes, sorry.
Before I forget about the newsletter.
Sorry, that was me. I went off on a tangent. Apologies.
So I'm going to go and write an article. I'm going to see the option for a newsletter that no one else can use this title, the Selling with Dignity newsletter. And then what?
We'll actually create it straight away after this, right? So Selling with Dignity newsletter. Yes. And then you decide if you're going to do it monthly, weekly. I would just say monthly, because you can even do it another time. You don't have to do it just monthly. You can do it more. Right. But I do it monthly or whenever something inspires me to write one.
Yep.
And, then you just write your headline like you would an article. Are you doing it now? No, I thought you were doing it while we were talking. You can write your article, write your headline, put a nice image up there, and then just write. It could be just 3 tips on selling with dignity. It could be your first newsletter.
Yeah.
Something simple. So just start with your first one. But when you publish that, this is the important piece, folks. When you publish that newsletter, all of your connections and followers get a little notification from Harry, who they might not have heard of from in years. All of a sudden, Harry comes into their notifications saying, yeah, that's the power of LinkedIn newsletter.
Oh, I thought you had to DM people to say, hey, subscribe to my newsletter. That was the that was the little spamminess I was talking about. So it's basically a post and they're getting notified.
It's a notification in the My Network part. The My Network section where someone might connect with you. It's in that section. You will get a notification there saying Harry has invited you to subscribe to his Selling with Dignity. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's all you need to do. And that's it. And then all of your connections and followers will get a notification for that. So then they decide in a split second whether they're going to subscribe or not. But what I find when I'm doing this with clients, some people start getting messages saying, God, it was so nice to see you pop up in my feed. It was lovely to see you pop up my notifications. How are you doing? Wait, I'll tell you what I'm up to. And let's grab a coffee and it has happened. And I've got, I think 4,000 subscribers to my newsletter, but you will notice, you can actually see who's subscribed. And you will not have their email address though, okay? So that is something to do later. But when you publish your newsletter, it comes into their inbox, in their email.
Right, yeah.
Well. Yeah.
Right, so so let me ask you this. Do you email people as well, like an email list? Because if you have an email list,
if you have an email list as well, you can actually... I would direct these new people on LinkedIn to that email list later. So maybe as a call to action saying, hey, by the way, I have a weekly newsletter if you want to, subscribe to that one. But you know, I think the LinkedIn newsletter is so powerful because it comes up, you could share it as a post, you can keep getting new subscribers, because I would share it to Twitter. So I would share out my newsletter to Twitter and then I get more subscribers. That's cool. And like even on Twitter now, I have a subscribe button so people can subscribe to me, to my Twitter for I think it's $2 a month. Well, that's great, because what it means is people that can't afford to work with me, they get a little bit of value anyway, extra special treatment. So I'll do Twitter Spaces just for subscribers. I'll give them retweets. So all of my subscribers get retweets, and I have 69,000 followers. So, you know, it's worth a small business owner giving me €2 a month, you know? So it's like, I'm not going to be a millionaire out of it. Well, if 10% of my followers subscribed, I'd be happy. Yeah. But that's not going to happen anytime soon, unless you never know. But there are opportunities, folks, online where you can actually build that community. So, you know, people might say, well, it's not about the money. For me, it's about building a strong community of people who also love Twitter like me, as much as me. Otherwise, they wouldn't subscribe. So I need to be around people that get me. And, you know, it's like hanging around another entrepreneur, another business person. You always buzz off each other, you know?
Right. Yeah. I'm loving this. So on LinkedIn, there's the direct messaging, right? Where you can easily message somebody and have a one-on-one, or say, it's been a while since we spoke, or since we never had a conversation, would you be up for a virtual coffee sometime? Is that acceptable on Twitter as well, or is that like taboo?
Well, if you are like Harry, when we actually connected, right? We had a little chat. Let's set up a call, calendar. You know, we already kind of had met, if you know.
Yeah, we met at an event, a virtual event, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So we, you know, the trust was already built, right? So I can't stand it, actually. DMs from people that just don't have.
Well, no, but if you know, if there's back and forth, right? Meaning that, like,
so like me and you,
DMs.
No.
Right.
No.
Yeah. But if you can tell when people are constantly commenting on your post.
Yes.
Right. Then you say, well, they must like what I'm doing. Let me find out more about them. That's kind of what I was thinking. Is that acceptable?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Actually, I always encourage that if you build a relationship on Twitter, take it away. We don't know if Twitter is going to be there tomorrow. Right. Take it away from Twitter. Take it away from LinkedIn. Take it to your inbox. You know, take it to a DM, take it to a cup of tea, take it to a virtual coffee. And actually, I pride myself on making sure that I meet a lot of my followers if I can. So let's say I'm on holiday in London, or if I'm at an event in London, I have a Twitter list called London. So anytime I'm going to a different country on business, I will always say, you know, DM them, say, look, just letting you know I'm in London this week. Or, you know, if I'm traveling around Ireland, and I remember there was a lady, she had a cafe and she was on Twitter. And I remember saying to my husband, oh my God, actually, that's that cafe. I said, can you pull over and I'll just run in? And I just ran in and I just said hi. And we got a selfie and she was delighted. But
cool.
I didn't even buy anything. Like I just dropped in. I just said, look, I saw you. I just thought I'd drop in. But that makes people feel so special and makes people's day.
It does.
And it's just those little things. So definitely take it offline. And DMs are fine, but I wouldn't do it if you never, ever had a conversation with the person.
Right. Yeah. What about when you're posting on, I forgot which was which, but I think if I post on LinkedIn from my phone, an option comes up to post the same post on Twitter without... Yeah. Have you seen that? Or should I do that separately?
You can. You have your Twitter connected to your LinkedIn, obviously. Yes. I don't encourage cross-platform cross-pollination. Yeah. But, however, LinkedIn, and this is an important piece that hopefully everyone will take away from today, Twitter is LinkedIn's living room. Okay. So there are CEOs, decision makers, journalists on Twitter. So if you did share from LinkedIn, it's a little bit more acceptable than if you had your Facebook connected to Twitter. I don't want to go to Facebook. I hate Facebook. Whereas Twitter and LinkedIn would be quite similar, especially if you're in business. So it is acceptable, more acceptable. Yeah.
And what about like, I'm not sure, I think I asked this question, but I probably cut you off, was how many posts should you be doing on Twitter?
I probably didn't answer the question. Sorry.
You ignored me. It wasn't worthy.
It's Friday. I'm like, did he ask me a question? How many tweets? Okay. Well, yeah, you were saying about LinkedIn. Well, for Twitter, for my clients, I would do 5 a day. 2 of those tweets are something with a call to action, driving traffic to the website, driving to their blog, driving to their book a call or whatever. The other 3 are sharing, empowering, entertaining, or creating some kind of engagement. So giving someone else a shout out. So talking about someone else and how great they are.
Yeah.
You could share an article from someone else, for example. You could share behind the scenes, you can't beat it. And if you've got a dog, even better. Loads of people on Twitter love dogs and cats.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love
So
dogs.
I mean,
yeah,
it's
great.
funny. I met a minister in the government the other day, and he said, "You know what I love about your Twitter?" And I was like, "Yeah, what?" Like I thought, my very intelligent tweets.
And right, I'm brilliant. No, you mean that?
No, it was actually, he loves me walking the dogs on the beach. The pictures of me walking the dogs. Yeah. But there you go. I mean, people want to see, because don't forget, they're like us. Most people are like us. 98% of people are good. I think 98%. And then there's the other idiots that you just, you don't want to hang out with anyway. So, and people, your clients, your ideal client, you don't have to be on Twitter. So anyone who's listening saying, "Oh no, I have to create a Twitter account," maybe you don't. Like maybe your audience aren't there. So just think, are your audience there? Like if they're, professional, urban, 30 over 55, kind of around that. And journalists, if you want to get noticed by journalists, definitely you need to be on Twitter, especially if you have a business and you want to promote it. But I know when I did a crowdfunding campaign, for example, for another company, most of our donations and contributions came from Twitter.
Okay. Wow.
But that was a pet zoo though. That was like every time I put up a monkey, they donated. Like it was called Secret Valley Wildlife Park. And every time I put up this little captain monkey, they just donated.
Yeah. It's great.
But a lot of animal lovers on Twitter. Oh yeah. Also sustainability community. Oh, so many. So many. So if anyone's listening today that is on Twitter, if you want to do a tweet and say, and tag Harry and say, "Oh, I heard you on the podcast." And if there's anyone in particular you'd like to connect with in any kind of community, just tweet to me and ask me, and I'll connect you with who I think you should be connected to.
Yeah, this is so great. So how is it you serve people? Because you have such a wealth of knowledge about LinkedIn and Twitter. So how do you make money off of this? What do you do?
I have a 6-week program where I help people if they want to raise their profile, they want to get more viewers or listeners, or they want to get more opportunities speaking. It's about raising their profile. So I do that. That's my high ticket one. That's my 6 1-hour calls. But then I manage accounts for people as well. So I have a team. So it's not just me. And I do the engagement piece in particular. I'm really good at, and I'd know the right people to follow that they should be following that they might not realize. And it's fresh eyes. It's fresh eyes on their Twitter account. So I do a lot of that. If there's a campaign, like the new Ross Guitar Festival is happening here in Wexford. So I'll be managing that campaign, driving ticket sales. So there might be campaigns and stuff as well. But I have a lot of clients who, I manage their account and I help them to get more traction and opportunities. And I'd spot my opportunities. So let's say if I see another big tip, hashtag journo request. I think I mentioned this in the other event. The hashtag journo request is journalists looking for a comment or help with an article that they're writing, and they have a deadline. So they do a tweet saying, "Look, does anyone know a psychologist that can comment on, mental health," or whatever the thing is. And I keep an eye on that for my clients too. And one of the girls I know, it was Forbes. She ended up in Forbes, but from a journal request. And I've had opportunities as well.
Yeah. So now I'm going to this is all about me, folks. So when would I use this journal request, this hashtag? when I put out an article on sales or something, or
No, no.
all right.
Will I share my screen, show you what to do?
Yeah,
So for people
yeah.
listening, all you do is, this is what I do, right? So I
Okay.
build relationships with the journalists, right? So I go into hashtag journal request. So you put it into search.
Yeah.
And what I do is I click the latest tweets. So journal request. Okay. And then, okay. So there is a lady looking for a journalist to speak about covering the story. Okay, no. Okay, let me see. Looking to speak to 1 to 2 nail technicians about recent nail trends. So that's for beauty. So what I would do is, I don't know anyone that's a nail technician. Let me see who she is. Okay, I'm going to follow her. This is the journalist, and I'm going to retweet her.
Okay.
And that's going to make her happy. And she's probably going to follow me. So I'm going to add her to a Twitter list called Journalists and Media. So I can keep an eye on her in the future, because although I can't help her, my daughter's in the beauty business. Okay. So maybe someday she might ask for something about what my daughter does. So now I've just added them to my locked journalist list, by the way, because I didn't want my competitors to take all my journalists.
Oh, okay.
Now there's an independent cafe. Now I know one of my friends has a friend who has a little cafe in London. So I'm going to tag my friend to help her. So I can't help her, but I'm helping her still, you know? I think so. I'm helping her by giving her someone who does know a cafe owner in London that might be able to help. I'm already following Ellen. So she's obviously about food. See, she's a blogger, Eat with Ellen. Follow that. So that will help Ellen. It'll help. And then when the article comes out, Harry, I go back to the lists and I check my journalists and see, oh, if the article comes out, I retweet it, because then the editor is happy. So the journalist is happy then. They're like, oh, I got loads of hits on that. They want me to do another article similar. And that's how it works. Yeah.
So there's like a lot of giving back to the universe on this one, and in what you do. Right. It's the same thing works in sales. Is the same thing works in relationships, right? You just keep giving, and you don't know where all the love is going to come back from, right? It just arrives. But you've done so much outpouring of it that it returns.
Well, I remember a guy when I came around first, I did a TEDx as well. It's on my TEDx, actually, you'll hear about it. And I remember a
couple of stories behind you, tweeting goddess.
Yeah.
All right. So you just I just did a TEDx. Okay. So sorry to interrupt.
Well,
so
actually,
where were you going with your TEDx?
No, it was a while ago, but I remember the only reason I got that was I was speaking at a different event and someone was in the audience that was organizing a TEDx. It's mad. So a lot of the stuff that's happened to me, well, it's my dad, I'd say, you know, a lot of stuff that's happened to me has been serendipitous, and I couldn't even say that word when I started in business, you know, and it's like, I've learned so much, but I've really kept to my principles, like I did with the sales, you know, really kept with my heart and doing the right thing. And it really, like a gentleman, Bill Yao, said to me years and years ago, I remember someone said, what's your biggest challenge? And everyone in the audience put up their hand, and she came to me and I said, am I good enough? Because I really didn't think I was good enough.
Yeah.
And she did it. And then later on, the guy, Bill Yao, who was the keynote speaker, he was walking out the door and he went, Sam. And I said, yeah. And he goes, remember, you are good enough. And always stuck with me, stuck with me. And I just did a tweet today. I'll share my screen for the benefit of the listeners. I actually just did this about an hour ago. Okay. So I am walking the walk for sure.
Yes.
This lady here, there was a lady, they were doing pitches yesterday, students, right? So she's a student in school, this lady here, right? And she just said, I said, well done. Or she said something about me first. So she said she won 3rd place.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, tweeting us amazing post. Yeah. So she did that. And I said, thank you for your kind words. You go, girl. You were brilliant. And then I went back and I said, remember this. I said at first, you will succeed. You are go. And she was amazing. And I mean it. I'm not just saying to her, but look, I nearly made her cry. Look, but even there, I said, I remember Bill Yao saying, that's Bill there, saying something
Mhm.
similar to me years ago, and it always stuck with me.
Paying it forward. Yeah, it's beautiful.
So I don't talk crap. I really am what I say I am. And I'm a bit of a messer as well, as you probably know. But I just want to say to someone that's listening as well, you do not have to conform. You do
Yeah.
not have to be yourself, stand out, keep your personality. You know, yes, be a bit more professional and
Right.
polished, and which that'll come. It's like sales.
Yeah.
You learn bits, don't you, as you go?
Yeah, exactly. And you hit the nail on the head. You walk the walk, right?
Yeah.
If you're genuine in sales, you don't go home and, be a jerk, right? You don't go online
Exactly.
and be a jerk, right? So
Yes.
if you're really a good person, you can do well in sales. And guess what? You'll do well in life, do well in relationships, do well in parenting. It's all tied together, right? It's the way we treat others.
Oh, totally. I mean, even I have a 16-year-old here, and I can't, like, she's just so good, because, like, I would be traveling a lot and I'd be working. I'd feel guilty sometimes, and we all get that. And
Yeah.
that's another thing, like with LinkedIn, don't be afraid to be a little bit human. I don't mean be mushy. What I
Right.
mean is, don't be afraid to say, God, does anyone else have this issue? I guarantee you, people are going to reply and say,
Yeah.
yes, we do
Yeah.
have that issue. We just don't
Yeah.
talk about it, so.
Exactly. We want to pretend like we're perfect. So I love putting out stuff where it shows I am not perfect, and watching the comments come in where people say, I've done the same thing or whatever, right? All of this applies to me and stuff like that. I love.
And even the fact that we're on this call now, Harry, you wouldn't have asked me to be on this call unless you could see that in me. And
Right.
now I'm getting to know you more. Now I know I can help you, just by keeping an eye out for things, like sales wise, Twitter is there for the taking for you. You just
Yeah,
have to
I'm
start.
jumping in,
Yeah.
baby. Well, it's like the whole thing is, when people think about serving or growing their business, the first thing is, I got to grow my business. I got to grow my business. I think, how can I serve people? I'm
Yeah.
getting the same feeling from you.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, serving your daughter, serving other young girls, and then, growing your business. And it's like, well, how can I help these people? And it's like, you're constantly saying that. And it's just like, these are the people that are out there, folks. And if you think that Twitter is quote unquote, whatever you thought it was, right? Fill in the blank. And it's like, you're missing an opportunity to find more beautiful people in life. And there's a
Absolutely.
lot of us. I mean, not that I want to just say I'm a beautiful person, but you know what I mean?
But there's loads of us doing the right thing. And you know what? And there's money there too. Like, don't be afraid. You don't have to be afraid to get a sale. I'm sure you talk about this all the time.
Well, yeah.
I mean, I have to feed my family too.
Right. Yes.
But people don't mind paying for something if they're going to get value and if they're going to actually get results from it.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of snake oil people out there. We know that. So it's just about, sorting the men out from the boys. And, I think people like look at their review, look at my reviews. I mean, like, look at all the reviews, like they don't come from nowhere, do your research before you hire someone else. I've had lots of people come to me after they hired someone else, like,
sure,
to fix things, but it just go with your gut as well. And there's so many tips, it's just like, I think there are good people out there, though. It's only about finding them and then nurturing the relationship as well, which you're going to do when you start your newsletter. You're going to be so, oh my God, you're going to be so excited when you do it.
I can't
And if
wait.
anyone is listening, by the way, and you want to create a newsletter and you want me to go into your LinkedIn and have a poke around, I do 1 hour sessions. I do actually do, it's €297. It's 1 hour, and we do your first LinkedIn lesson. And I actually have a recommendation on LinkedIn from a guy who said, I blew his mind. He was like, what was it? 20% of my audience converted into my newsletter. And like, he was really happy, and he's in Silicon Valley. Like, so he thought he had it nailed, but it was great. Yeah.
Well, you're special. So where can people find more of you, Tweeting Goddess, other than Twitter at Tweeting Goddess? But that would be the obvious. But do you want to direct them to a website or anything? Or
tweetinggoddess.com. I'm everywhere. I'm on Instagram and on TikTok as well. But the only reason I'm there is for my clients' sake. So I have to understand these platforms. And because I'm not just a Twitter expert, I do know all of the platforms. It's just my superpower. And I would advise, stick to 2 platforms that you're really strong at and that where your audience are. So you don't have to be on TikTok. You don't have to be on YouTube, but I do because it's my business. That's what I do. Like,
gotcha. I've got a question while you're here. Can I ask you, does video work on Twitter?
Yes. Okay. Top tip. When you're filming your video for Twitter, use it horizontal, your phone. When you're doing it for Instagram and actually LinkedIn, horizontal as well. LinkedIn, do that. You can do it that way, but I prefer that way. But Instagram and Facebook is this way. But Twitter, so it looks better in the feed.
Twitter does the landscape, which is 16:9 versus the 9:16 for those of us who are editing in CapCut and other tools out there. So
yeah, it looks much better. And then put the subtitles on as well if you can. But yeah, video, but obviously under a minute is much better. But if anyone's still listening to this podcast, I think our attention span has gone so bad. I think, it's hard to get people to listen even to the whole thing. So I would stick to
I'll make it 2 podcasts or 3 or 17 or something, but we'll have one really good one. And then I'm going to make a bunch of shorts out of it. Yeah. So this has been awesome, Tweeting Goddess. You're amazing and it's been a blast. Love your energy. We could keep on going, but thank you so much for making your presence here on Sales Made Easy. And you have a splendid weekend in the great country of Ireland.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for listening to Sales Made Easy. If you found value in our conversations, please subscribe and leave a review. Our goal is to provide practical strategies for growing your business while staying true to your values. Remember, success in sales is about serving your clients. Serve first, and the selling will follow. We'll be back soon with more insights and inspiration. Until then, keep serving and providing value to others. Good things will happen.